Here is some information that was released by the Ontario government on their elections.on.ca website. And some very sleuthy people picked it up. Actually, I think the person who broke this story is this guy, but I could be wrong. He was a PPC candidate, Matt, and he said I blew the whistle on Elections Ontario and informed the public and Maxime Bernier that voters would need proof of vaccination to enter Elections Ontario facilities, including field locations. It went viral, and now they removed the COVID-19 policy webpage. So the COVID-19 policy was stating that we require all visitors, including vendors, to complete a COVID-19 screening assessment before entering any elections office. And they were asking for COVID-19 passports in order to... Elections Ontario has implemented a COVID-19 vaccination policy as of December 1st, 2021. Vendors, consultants, and visitors to Elections Ontario must show proof that they are fully vaccinated and provide proof of identity upon entry into Elections Ontario facilities, including field locations. Failure to comply and or provide vaccination confirmation will result in denial of entry to Elections Ontario. So when they got found out, when they got caught, when people started talking about this and saying that's illegal, and I'm not a vendor or a visitor or a consultant, I'm doing my civic duty by showing up here. This is a necessary thing to do. Anyway, regardless, it looks like they were going to try, and they may still try, to implement vaccine passports to access the COVID-19 or voting. Wild, right? And now they removed it after people said, hey, hold on a second, that's not so good. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it. That just means they removed the webpage. The National Post is talking about mandatory vaccines, and Millhouse says Millhouse takes a quote from the article. Mandatory vaccine policies are a blunt tool aimed at covering up government's ineptitude. The denial of basic civil rights has been repeatedly used to patch over political failures. We're witnessing a massive policy failure. There's absolutely no excuse for what they've done to kids in school, to businesses. I mean, these people, the government, these people personally, Doug Ford personally, the premiers of the province, the medical officers of health personally, should all be held personally responsible for the damage they've done to these businesses. Walmart got to stay open. There was no damage to Walmart. Amazon did just fine. Costco did just fine, right? It is egregious, the behavior of the government towards small businesses and towards towards little people. You don't have the ability to hire 15 or 20 lawyers as you're losing your business to fight the government of Ontario, to be brought into a courtroom with a corrupt judge. This is why they did this, because Walmart does have the money to fight. Walmart will bring the government of Ontario to court, and they will have 10 or 15 people there saying, we're going to be open now because this, and this, right? But you or me, if you owned a grocery store or a sporting goods store or anything, you are subject to the government of Ontario's whims, and you've been damaged, but you don't have the resources to fight. The legal system is not built for you. It's built for Walmart. Wild. And how do you rectify that when you know that now, right? There's no convincing case for compulsory COVID-19 vaccinations. This is good news. This is the media trying to push the government and say, no, you shouldn't do this. Will it have any impact at all? It hasn't so far, really. I mean, there's a couple of things that you could feel the undertone that people would not comply. Closing the schoolyards was one. A few other things that they clearly crossed a line. But the move for compulsory vaccinations is beyond the newspaper's control, I think, at this point in time. I think Trudeau's trying to find a pathway through the premiers, through whatever means necessary. And we're going to see that play out in the next little while. We're not getting any problem solved. Solving problems doesn't benefit Trudeau's government. Trudeau's government uses fear and destabilization to manage the population and get his way, because everything's an emergency. We have to spend. Otherwise, if we don't spend, these businesses are going to go under. So it's an emergency. And if you don't support it, we're going to make you look terrible in the eyes of the public because you didn't support something that was going to save the small businesses, so on and so forth. It's an awful, awful way to govern, and Canada is worse off for it. Ezra Levent responds to Aaron O'Toole saying, Canada's Conservatives want to see an end to lockdowns, restrictions to your liberty, and the ongoing impact on the mental wellness of our society. Really? And Ezra said, "You weird liar. You supported every Trudeau lockdown, from his airport COVID jails to his flight and train bans. You supported every provincial lockdown. In fact, you humiliated your own MP who hinted that lockdowns were a violation of civil liberties." Yeah. I mean, it's not like the Conservatives have said anything up until now. And now they want to say we're against it? Not very believable. Sorry. Too little, way too late. I don't know that there's anybody who really believes that Aaron O'Toole would do anything meaningfully different than Justin Trudeau is doing right now. Right? It would just be the same kind of silly policies, and easier to vilify Aaron O'Toole. He wouldn't last. He wouldn't win a second election. Apparently, the Quebec head of public health has resigned. Felix from TVA is reporting Quebec's head of public health has resigned. This is en français. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe the cracks are starting to show. Maybe people are starting to realize, there's a problem here, and people are waking up to who's responsible for this. The complete wholesale destruction of a business. Like, is the government responsible for doing this when it's the government's fault? It wasn't the virus that did this. The government's complete overreaction did this.